Start us. All right, welcome everyone. We are glad to have you here. We apologize for the timing of this on a Monday night when the Seahawks are playing. So we will try and be as efficient as we can this evening. But we also have some important business that we hope to finish and complete here for 2019. To begin, I'd like to motion for the approval of the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as distributed.
Second.
All those in favor say, well, any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the minutes have been approved. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Do we have a sheet tonight, Mike, for any public comment?
We do.
All right, can you hand that to me?
There is nothing on here. However, there was a letter sent in by the sheriff, and Mike Merrill would like to read that letter as part of the sheriff is not able to be here because he's at the commissioners meeting.
All right.
But he would like to have this.
Mike, we welcome you to the mic. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And the sheriff really wanted to be here this evening, but he's at a Board of County Commissioners meeting this evening, swearing in some new deputies and a new sergeant. So he apologizes for not being here by himself. He sent a letter in dated December 2nd. I'd just like to read this really quick to you. It says, "Dear Board of Directors, thank you for serving as a member of the Board of Directors. Many people did not know the time and commitment this responsibility has until they have served in this capacity themselves. So I thank you for the work you have accomplished and your ongoing commitment to public service. I would like to address the current projects the board is considering on behalf of the citizens of Kitsap County, and I apologize for not being able to speak to you personally. Unfortunately, my schedule does not allow me to attend this meeting. Several years ago, the state legislative body enacted an RCW which allows local government to establish a public facilities district. The Kitsap Public Facilities District uses a Washington state sales tax rebate to invest in sports, recreation, entertainment, and conference facilities with other partners, both public and private, in Kitsap County. The KPFD also seeks to promote the use of these facilities to expand local recreation options and stimulate economic benefit to the community by assisting local organizations to host regional sports tournaments and special events at the facilities built or renovated with KPFD managed funds. The appropriate and primary focus of the KPFD is and has been on recreation, entertainment, and conference facilities to include the Kitsap Conference Center, North Kitsap Regional Events Center, and the Kitsap Fairgrounds Events Center. Ongoing projects include the expansion of North Kitsap School District Strawberry Field bleachers and improvements to a mile of the existing trail system, continuation of the Gordon Field improvements at the fairgrounds, and tenant improvements at the Kitsap Conference Center in Bremerton. These projects have met the intent and focus of the KPFD's oversight for the appropriate use of public funds for recreation, entertainment, and conference activities. I am aware of a project proposal which also falls under these expected parameters. If we are not able to include in this project, we will be in jeopardy of not fulfilling the current needs and future opportunities for entities who are desperately in need of a place to train first responders at Kitsap County and all other regional police and fire personnel. My office has been supportive of the Circuit of the Northwest proposal from the beginning, as it has merit in meeting our needs. We have been in need of a comprehensive training facility for many years and unable to accomplish this task on our own. The site we currently use is shared with 17 other multi-county agencies, where we train up to 200 officers annually on EVOC, which is Emergency Vehicle Operations course. Our current training site will be lost when this space is closed and repurposed by the Port of Bremerton. Our anticipated use of the Circuit of the Northwest proposed project would allow us to continue with the mandated training while enhancing our ability to add multiple training scenarios, which are lacking at this time. The spaces we have been privileged to use are at a racetrack that was established in the 1960s. This track doesn't provide what is currently needed or required. Excuse me. The best practice for all first responders is to train as we work, using realistic training scenarios with modern equipment and training facilities. The Circuit of the Northwest plan is what we need to properly train and be ready to provide professional law enforcement and firefighting services as expected and demanded by the citizens we serve. We have been following the Circuit of the Northwest plan since inception, and I strongly encourage the KPFD support this endeavor. This is a project we have long awaited and need the assistance of others to make it happen. To meet the expectations of our citizens, it is necessary that we engage in public-private partnerships, which is exactly what our legislators had in mind when the KPFD was established. It is essential for a public-private partnership to be formed, which will allow the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office personnel and our fellow 4 county regional law enforcement agencies to train and maintain the essential skills necessary to do our job safely. To do so means an investment by KPFD to partner with the Circuit of the Northwest, a partnership which guarantees our future ability to train as necessary. Need a glass of water, I think. Our mission statement states the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office is dedicated to providing quality public safety services in partnership with our diverse communities. This means we ask that our partners join us in accomplishing our mission. When the KPFD partners with the Circuit of the Northwest, we all benefit, making Kitsap County a safer place to live, work, and visit. Please support the Sheriff's Office and the citizens we all serve by developing a public-private partnership with the Circuit of the Northwest. Sincerely, Gary Simpson, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I came in here kind of harried, and so hello to all my fellow board members up here. And I skipped right by my normal question, but I wanted to ask each of you, what was it about Thanksgiving that you enjoyed this year? What was special about your day or your celebrations? Rick, would you start us?
Starting with me?
I'm going to start with you.
Try to ignore him. But it was again Thanksgiving at my son and daughter-in-law's farm on Bond Road. They've been in there 4 or 5 years. Bond Road to my son and daughter-in-law's farm. They raise turkeys there and chickens, and they provide the turkey, and they hosted our family Thanksgiving ever since they started at the farm. And this year they had a grant from the state. There's an agency in the state that wants to help old farms. They got an $11,000 grant and spend the entire summer working themselves because they had to meet that $11,000 for their new farm. It's a 100-year-old barn, which was the hourly native. It was going to collapse. Anyway, it's all new, and we celebrated that.
Me next. I'm in Silverdale Rotary, and I had the great pleasure of working the turkey trot at Kitsap Mall on Thanksgiving morning. And it's our 4th year. We had 100 runners the first year, and 300 the next, and 500 last year, and we had 709 runners. And the admission fee of $25 goes totally back. The Silverdale Rotary takes that, and it will mostly go to children's food, but definitely it all goes to food right in Kitsap County. So we raised a lot of money and had a lot of fun.
Well, my highlight wasn't actually Thanksgiving. 2 days before Thanksgiving, I had my 80th birthday, and my 3 sons threw a party for me. And they were all there, including my youngest son, who is a naval officer stationed in England, and he came from England for my birthday and stayed for Thanksgiving. So I'm very, very proud to say that I have my own knees, my own hips, my own hair, my own teeth, no hearing aids, no spare parts here.
He's bragging.
He's flexing right now. Mine was, I have two college students, and so they were both back by Tuesday. And so it was actually both Tuesday night and Wednesday night that were my favorite parts because I had all of my kids around the table with us, and that was absolutely wonderful. The extended family is great too, if you're watching. I doubt it, but just in case. But it was great to be with our whole family.
Well, Thanksgiving was really a good day for me and for my wife. My wife had a serious operation a week before Thanksgiving, and so we spent Thanksgiving Day at home alone, but doing well, and I was just thankful that she was there with me.
So Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday, so overall I just love the whole process. I like to cook, I like to eat, and I like to spend time with family. This year I was especially thankful for my wife and I have our two older kids in college on the East Coast, so we don't get to see them very often. We traveled out to them this year and had our whole family together, and also spent time with my wife's in-laws. So it was a great trip, and we didn't get caught in a snowstorm on the way home.
Well, mine was uneventful also. We just had my two daughters and grandkids and everybody around and just kind of hung out for the day. So,
Thank you. Mike, you want to share?
Yeah, just briefly, we didn't do anything spectacular. Harriet, my wife, was working on a show that she did, Jingle Fest at the fairgrounds this weekend. So I didn't want her to have to spend any time in the kitchen cooking and cleaning and everything else. So we went out to dinner.
Thank you, everybody, for entertaining my question. I always enjoy learning more about you, and also like to do it for those of you who are gathered here, just to give a better representation of who we are as people and a little bit more behind each of us who make up your board. We are moving on to agenda night number 4 for discussion of the ILAs. Our legal counsel is with us, I believe, via internet connection.
Yes, I have Brian on the phone right here, so if you guys can make sure that you speak clearly so he can hear you. His responses should be able to be picked up on the mic. Brian, do you want to say something?
Yeah, good evening. This is Brian Lawler, PFD Legal Counsel. Good evening, board members and other members of the public who are present tonight. I'm participating remotely in my car, parked at the Milton Police Station, but I'm not in any trouble.
All right, good to know. Brian, the first ILA on our agenda is the Paulsbo ILA, and there has been a change to it, and we have on our agenda to discuss that change and to vote on it for approval. Is there anything that you would like to say about this ILA and this change?
Yes, there is. Thank you, Darren. So the change requested is at paragraph 5.1 on the accounting requirement. Paulsbo read the requirement as they needed to have a completely separate bank account from their other funds, and requested that we clarify that they do not need to go out and get a separate bank account just for the PFD funds. They can hold these funds as they hold other funds, but they all are required to keep, separate books and accounts and records and be able to account for the PFD funds. Mike and I conferred on that and thought A, it was reasonable. B, it's actually a request that was made about a year ago by the Port of Bremerton on the ILA we entered into with them. They requested the same thing, and you, the board, agreed to that. So Mike and I didn't see this as a substantial issue, but we didn't feel like we had the authority to unilaterally change a provision that you had reviewed and approved at the last meeting. So we decided it should go on the agenda for tonight, so you would be fully informed and briefed as to what this change is. And I can answer any further questions on that, and I think the city's ready to answer any questions on that as well.
Thank you, Brian. Board members, do you have any further questions on that change?
Well, I'm looking at the packet here, and there's nothing under Exhibit C, which deals with the what we're going to do, and I'd like to know exactly what we're going to be paying for in the allocation of $243,000.
Is there someone from the city of Paulsbo who would like to answer that, Mary?
So Exhibit C is the preliminary feasibility study fee estimate. You don't have a copy of that?
No.
No.
No, that was in the previous meeting, but the latest copy with the tasks and budget and timing schedule, what I received with the change, that attachment wasn't there. But I believe we've received that before.
But the only change that we made was to section 5.1.
Correct.
Right. No changes to the feasibility study that was already, or fee estimate that was already approved. The total is $243,900.
Well, could you give, I'd like to have a quick briefing of what all that includes.
I can read you the different sections. So the community outreach was $47,000. This is our estimate in advance. This was part of the grant. Market analysis, $53,800. Draft management plan, $27,800. Concept plan, location, $45,500. Financial analysis, $56,000, and project administration, $13,800. So the total is $243,900.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Bill, this is not approval of the whole ILA all over again. It's just about that one paragraph change.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay, hearing no other questions, can I have a motion to approve this?
I move approval of the change to the interlocal agreement between the PFD and the city of Paulsbo.
Seconded.
Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, moving on to 4B, the ILA between the county and Heritage Park and the PFD. Again, Brian, is there anything that you would like to speak to regarding this ILA?
Are you there, Brian?
Yeah, Brian, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't, Darren just faded out. So was that directed to me?
Yeah, sorry about that, Brian. So we approved the first ILA, the changes to the Paulsbo ILA, and now we're moving on to 4B and discussing the County Heritage Park ILA. And I wanted to ask you to begin by sharing any thoughts you have regarding this ILA.
This one's very simple. We had I think two meetings with the county's team on this. The very few changes to our proposed form. The changes were generally non substantive. And after the last meeting, I think Mike Walton and I were in agreement that the proposed ILA was in a form suitable to bring forward to you. And then within the last couple of days, the county contacted us to indicate that they thought they had made a mathematical error in one of their schedules. They were going to provide a correction for that, which they did. I think Mike Walton can address that better than I. There's not a a legal issue that I have any concern or comments about.
All right, thank you. Mike, would you like to follow up on that?
Yeah, the communications back and forth between the county and I, the amount that would, the change was about, what was that, 140,000? And it changed the amount from about 1.56 to about 1.7 millions. And that was for that first stage that was discussed, including the ride park and their feasibility study and master plan. So the amount was less than 10% change.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions that you have, any discussion?
We
So,
do have
so Mike,
representatives from the county here to address that or any questions that you have.
yeah, I think this is an easy one. So on the Exhibit B we have, that's got the 1.585, that's the old number. That should be 1.7, basically. That's okay. Is that that's the right place, so then we can just pencil that in? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the back.
Oh, it's on the back? Oh, turn the paper over. Got it.
Oh, yes, 1697. That is,
Brian, this is Walt Draper. Can you hear me?
Yes, well, I can hear you very clearly. Thank you.
So if we approve this ILA, we're committed only to the 1697556. We're not committed to the 4.4 million in the out years without negotiating further. Is that correct?
That's correct. While there's general language about working cooperatively to advance this project, there's very specific language, I think in at least two places, that says there's no commitment for further funding.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah.
All right, hearing none, would someone be willing to move the motion?
I move approval of the interlocal agreement between the Public Facilities District and Kitsap County as regards the Heritage Park.
I'll second.
And any discussion? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And for both the City of Port Orchard as well as the City of Paulsbo, at our last meeting, we gave some applause for the completion of the project and the ILA, and so I think it would be appropriate to do the same for all those who have worked on this one between the county and us for the Heritage Park. I'd like to also make comment that we began this process of looking at the different projects at the beginning of the year, and this is our last meeting for 2019, and I want to commend the board and thank you for all your work and all the hours that you have put in with extra meetings and reading extra reports and all of that, and I'm proud of our group for finishing 4 ILAs through this year, so well done to all of you.
A round of applause, too.
Moving on to agenda number 5, the financial reports. Mike, would you guide us through this?
I wanted to thank the fellows and gals from the county that came here prepared to make a presentation, but you get to go home early. Okay. To start the summary, I'll start with the sales tax rebate and what we received in the last month for,
Do we want Darren to stay on for this? Or Brian? Brian.
Yeah, good question. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for being available to us. We always appreciate your insight and your work, and so thank you again for making yourself available via the internet here.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you for your leadership, and thank you board members for all your work and direction and guidance to Mike and I. It has been a good year, and hopefully now we're done.
Yeah, good luck at your next meeting.
thanks, Brian, and thanks for bringing that up. I didn't want to leave him hanging.
Okay, I will sign off then. Take care.
Thank
So
you.
the revenue received in the month of October was $158,500, and that was a 4.7% increase over last year. So it turns out that so far this year, the only down month was in the month of April, and that was 2 months after the Snowmageddon in February. So I think that down month was kind of losing a week's worth of income from slowed down sales and other activities in the county due to Snowmageddon in February. The other items, the typical debt service for the month of October at $70,000. So the net was $88,000. Our expenses were about $12.1 thousand. So the net to cash for that month was $76,400. Now it turns out, because we had a meeting, this meeting early in December, I was able to get the early results for the month of November. So with your permission, I will give you the first part of that. I don't have the expenses obviously yet, because we don't have those reports prepared.
Please do so.
The income was $161,900. That was up 8.3%. And the debt service for this month, for that month in November, was actually down a little bit. This is the month in which the funds that are in the 286 fund, which is our debt service fund with the county, are gathered up, and that transfers to the county in order to pay the interest and principal on that those bonds that were sold by the county. And on what's accumulated during the year, if there's any difference in what that final payment is, then we get either an extra deduction or a rebate, if you will. That was $60,000, so we saved $10,000 on that transaction. So the net before expenses was $101,900. So the debt service paid at the beginning of December was $840,281.66. And that's fairly typical. That number is in the $840,000, $850,000, depending upon those parameters. Any questions about that part of the report? Okay, the other pieces of the report are the financial statements, and you have in your packets the two principal statements. One is the operating fund and budget performance for the 968 fund, which shows that the amount of expense in the month of October was $17,500, and that's what we'll now that I have, oh, that's for October, okay, not November. well, we're kind of chugging along on this, so there's nothing outstanding in that report. The other portion of the report is the color-coded one, which has the different funds that we transfer money into and manage through the application of those funds. As you may recall at the last meeting, we got notice that the county wants us to reduce the number of funds. And so Walt and I had discussed this. I've discussed this with our accounting person, and we've determined that we will be able to manage those funds internally in QuickBooks in the same manner of transferring a ledger item of the funds to a separate account in QuickBooks that will be managed for each of the projects separately from the 977 general fund. So we will reduce the number of funds. We will still identify them by name but not by number. And we will still manage those funds for each project that we are managing.
And this is all necessitated because of an impending change in the way the county wants to account for things.
Correct. They'll be making a transition to the Workday financial management system. The J.D. Edwards system that they're using now is at best an 80s level financial accounting system, all menu driven instead of cloud driven. So there will be some changes. It'll be done in stages through next year. But one of the first things they wanted to do was kind of clean up their number of funds and their management. So we're able to comply with that, and next year we'll be operating with our funds managed through QuickBooks rather than the county. That we will retain two funds, actually three. The one is the county fund, the 286 fund, the debt service fund for the existing bonds. That will remain. The 96977 fund, which is where all of our funds are received and dispensed, that will remain. And I had requested permission to retain the 96968 fund, which is the operations fund, so that we get their reports about where our expenditures are and what areas and account numbers they fall under, so that we can match up with our accounting. That way we have a check and balance between the county and our accounting, and continue to assure that we have clean audit reports when those come around every year. Or every 3 years. It's not every year, thank God.
Any other questions for Mike on this report? All right, let's move on then to the blanket voucher. Can I have a motion to approve that?
The blanket voucher is in the amount of $13,841.77, and that includes a annual payment to Endurus for our liability insurance.
I move we approve the blanket voucher.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion, any questions? All right, then I'd like to ask all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. And our blanket voucher passes. I'll pass that up and down the row for your signing. Moving on to agenda number 6.
My apologies, Brian.
Second blanket.
Ah.
There's a second blanket voucher, which is not on the agenda. It's the blanket voucher for the stipend for the directors.
Okay.
So when that comes around, each of the directors needs to sign their own voucher form, the one with all the boxes and the numbers in it. Sign that, as well as signing on the blanket voucher page.
All right. Then for the second voucher, which is not shown here on our agenda, but we'll call it 5C, blanket voucher approval for the director's stipends. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve.
And a second?
I second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, we'll pass that down for your signatures as well. All right, ready to move on to agenda number 6? All right, moving on to agenda number 6, our financial advisor, Alan Dashin has prepared this spreadsheet for us to use as a tool to help in making our decisions. And Alan, if you would, since we just approved the amount of $1 million to the county for Heritage Park, $1,697,556. Would you put that in the spreadsheet as well?
I will in just a minute.
And then why don't you give us some explanation of the tool that you've created?
Okay, so let me start by just backing up a little and look at a different screenshot. I think you have it there. How we calculate the amount available. Let me turn this on. Okay, it is on. How we account the amount
Move
available
it
for
closer.
allocation. We assumed a long-term growth rate of about 2% per year, which last month it sounded like it grew about 8%. So this is very conservative. And keep that in mind. We could change that as appropriate. It's always good to have extra money. So if this is conservative, you can look at it and say, gee, we could have extra money to allocate out. The PFD has outstanding debt service that the county sold that final maturity is 2025. And at some point in 2022, I believe, the county will end up refinancing that, at least part of it, to extend it out to 2041. And that's required because state law says some of your original debt has to be extended out to 2041 to continue getting the sales tax rebate. So that's a detail. We've assumed for this that the county would only send out $5,000. So basically the amount paid for the next 5 years doesn't change. It could be you extend it all out to 2041, but that's a future discussion. So right now, if you look at this, between now and 2025, the amount you have allocated is, less than half of what you have going from 2026 out to 2041. The other part of this that's not shown here is the county has, or the PFD has over $2 million of cash available now if you need it for a specific project. So what we wanted to do was put together a spreadsheet that says, okay, suppose you allocate to, let's say Casey Foundation, I believe is Port Gamble. So let's put in here 1,697,556 and see what happens. So if you pay that amount out, allocate it out that amount of money, and you allocate it out over between now and 2041, this is what you would pay they would get every single year. Is this sort of proportional to the total amount available? If you say we're going to pay it all up front, then we could do it and it would look like Paulsbo, where they're getting $246,000 all at once. So it's a variable. If you go to another one of these and say Bainbridge Island Parks needs $100,000, put $100,000 in there and do a calculation out there as well. And so this is it's a tool for you to use, and we can run as many options as you would like. I assume Mike could send you the spreadsheet, and you can do it yourself as well. Is say, what if we give this amount of money out? What's left to be available? If you look at the total amount authorized, and this is with 2% growth, and you can't see it's all the little dots at the bottom of available for allocation. The total between now and 2041 is about $38.6 million. So if all of the allocations up at the top add a $38.6 million, and they were all spread out over the next 18 or 20 years, you'd have it all allocated out. So with that, I can make specific changes to that right now if you'd like. I don't think you want to spend a lot of time going through option after option here. But it's something that as board members you can work with, Mike can work with it. We can certainly run model after model for you. We can change the assumed growth rate if you'd like to change that as well.
At this point, I'd like to just open it to the board to ask Alan any questions that you would have.
Alan, does this include our reserve fund now?
It does not include your reserve fund now.
So, Mike, how much do we have in our reserve fund right now?
That's currently about $2.8 million. And with the November income and December, that may be close to $3 million. Now, part of that is we still have the rest of the Phase 2 invoices to pay off for Port of Bremerton, and a yet to be determined commitment that we made to the Parks Department for turfing on Lobe Field, but that hasn't been come back with a plan.
We committed up to $500,000 that if it
Correct.
came to that.
But he included in this review, the Port of Bremerton's 500,000 here already, right?
Yes, it is identified up there.
So, for planning purposes, though, we could include roughly $3 million into the bottom line of money available, right?
Correct. If we put $3 million at the top of the balance column or the cumulative balance column, it would adjust all of those numbers down by that.
Less $500,000 potentially for the fairgrounds.
Right. And for example, we have the $500,000 built in there, and if you look, the cumulative balance is a minus $274,000. That would come out of your pocket, basically, out of your $2.8 million.
So I guess I'd like to have, next time you prepare the sheet, show the balance due and bring it forward also.
Okay. We can build that in easily.
Yeah. And this also does not include any of the existing facilities. And we may want to include those in that chart so that we can also do the same thing if we are considering any other expenditures on the existing facilities that we've been working with for the last 15 years.
Any other questions for Alan?
Thank you, Alan.
All right.
Just view this as an interactive model, and we can change it, update it, and add lots of different numbers. We'll certainly build in the $2.8 million here. That's easy. And I'll keep sending it to Mike, and Mike can send it out as appropriate.
All right. Thank you for your work. Let's move on to agenda number 7, our new business. Our final budget approval. You have a sheet in your packet, as well as there is a second sheet there as well, which we added to your packet, which gives you not only the budget numbers for this year, but what the budget was last year and what the year-to-date actuals are as well for your comparison.
Just one quick question. Do you?
Yes.
Would you like me to stay around, or is that good for the day?
I think that's good for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, thank you very much. I appreciate all your work. Yeah, actually, the sheet that I included there does not include last year's budget, but it includes the 2019 budget and the proposed 2020 budget. It does show the accounts where the money goes when it comes out of the 96968 fund, but I did not include, I apologize if I misunderstood what you asked for. I didn't realize you wanted 2018 as well.
No worries. Are there any questions with the budget at all?
Yeah, I just have a question. So the item for proposed for 2020, that's our annual 2020, correct?
Correct.
And the next column says 2019 year-to-date through 10/31, so that is a partial year budget.
That
So we're
is a
not
partial
comparing
year.
apples to
Yeah,
apples.
That's the
Okay.
actuals up through the end of October. And as soon as we finish the financials for November, I can send out an updated version of that comparison.
If there are no questions, could I have a motion? Go ahead.
I'm a little confused. Okay, for instance, on the front page, the proposed $230,000 budget shows 45,000. Oh, never mind, I see. You combined your straight time and your overtime in the second page.
Yeah, I split it out into this budget with a separate line item because that's going to vary, and it's actually, that number is down.
I got it, I just wasn't reading carefully enough.
Yeah.
What we will be voting on is your top page. The second page is what I asked Mike to put together, just to give us a comparison of, okay, where did we spend money this year and what was our budget last year, so that we could have some comparison numbers to see that. So, but what we are voting on is the top page.
So the front page shows total operating expenses of 228.9, and the second page says 229.9, with $1,000 difference on the nets.
I think there's $1,000 difference in the payroll.
Oh, is it payroll?
Yeah.
71.8, 72.8, got it.
The 58, which is the both of them, and on the front page, it's 57 for both. That makes sense?
There were between what the draft was, which is what the second page is, that's what the draft that Walt and I were working with, and when I did the final, I did some adjustments in the payroll because I anticipate that overtime is going to go down to that level. For the year, it's been above that.
So Mike's line got cheaper from the draft to the final.
Nice.
All right, any other questions? All right, can I have the motion then to approve the 2020 budget?
I move approval of the 2020 operations budget in the amount of $228,900.
Second motion.
Any discussion?
Was that Tom that second?
No, it was Bill.
Bill.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Bill was the second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Our budget for 2020 passes.
Okay. The resolution that you have in front of you, Resolution 06-2019, is the mechanism by which we will eliminate the 3 funds from the Kitsap County Treasurer's list.
We have that. Mike, what does that,
I'm not finding that resolution.
I don't have that either.
Neither do I. All right, I'm going to read this off, and basically it is as Mike has already described earlier when he was going through the financial reports. In essence, we are reducing the number of accounts that we have with the county because they are asking us to. And so instead of having actual accounts where we'll have different amounts of money, in QuickBooks, we will have the same lump sum, but we will do the partitioning out ourselves. And so what this says is, whereas the Kitsap Public Facilities District has previously established a Facility Capital Project Fund, 96977, and Operations Fund, 96968, and has previously added a Kitsap Conference Center Capital Projects Fund, 96976, a KFEC Capital Projects Fund, 96966, and recently a NK Rec Facility Capitals Project Fund, 96967, and whereas there is a desire of the Treasury Department of Kitsap County to reduce or eliminate some of the existing funds, whereas the KPFD wishes to retain the 96968 Operations Fund and the 96977 Capital Projects Fund, be it resolved that the Kitsap PFD wishes the county treasurer and the county auditor to close the following funds. And those three are the ones that we have talked about: the KFEC Capital Projects Fund, the NK Rec Capital Projects Fund, and the KCC Capital Projects Fund. For those of you who are here, those are our three partners that we have worked with throughout our years as a Kitsap Public Facilities District. And so with that, could I have a motion to approve this resolution 06-2019?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 06-2019 for removal of the capital project fund.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those
I actually
yes,
have a
please.
question. Did Brian write this, or did the county?
No, I basically copied this from another resolution when these were set up. So I just undid the language that set them up in this particular resolution. But yeah, I had Brian check it.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? All right, we have passed the resolution, and Mike, we would ask that you would work with the county to carry out the elimination of those three funds.
Very good, will do.
Next on our list is the KCC Regional Facilities Report. We will allow you to look at that at your own time. And we have one more resolution, which I don't believe is here on the agenda, but it is our meeting schedule for this coming year. We will be continuing on. Does everybody have a copy of that in their folder?
No.
I
No?
think so.
All right.
The meeting schedule was approved last meeting. The only thing that was not on that was where we were meeting. And so we can just have you and Bill, who signed that the first time, re-sign that with the addition of the locations where the meetings were.
What we've done for our public who's here is we used to have our meetings all the time at the same hotel in Silverdale. But in an effort to connect more with the county and allow you to know what we do as a Kitsap Public Facilities District, we've tried to move it around from the different locales that we represent. So from Port Orchard to Bainbridge to Bremerton to Poulsbo, we try and move the meetings now. So if you're ever wondering where our meetings are, you'll need to check the website just to confirm that you're going to the right location. But that is the rationale behind why we did it. With that, I think that completes all of our business. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It does. I'd like to add a comment under announcements.
Okay.
I asked the city of Bainbridge Island to prepare a schedule of what sales tax had been collected that came to the PFD in the 15 years of their existence. And they didn't prepare it, so I called a couple weeks later. They had asked the Department of Revenue to prepare that. And I've gotten a sheet for each one of you. It totals, Bainbridge Island has paid sales, their generated sales tax from Bainbridge Island to the PFD in the 15 years totals $1,943,390. And I think we all should be aware of how much money has come from each of the commissioner districts and the cities in the past as we go forward.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you for gathering this information for us. Are there any other announcements or anything else that anybody wanted to say?
The one item that's on the, under announcements, that the Public Facilities District convention, not convention, conference. The lady, you were at the meeting where the Jurassic Parliament, the Robert's Rules of Order. This is a copyrighted piece of material that she gave to me in order to supply that to our board members for your help in making the process as efficient and effective as we can make it.
All right.
The one caveat, because it is copyrighted, I request that you not copy it and distribute it other than your own use.
All right.
Roger that.
With that, we will adjourn our meeting, and I want to thank all of you who showed up. I see a lot of the same shirts for the Port Gamble Trails. We're excited to partner with you going forward, and I think the signing of the ILA is a great step of that. So with that, let's go watch the Seahawks, and the meeting is adjourned.